So Chris put up a video where he makes an ass of himself. I think he was trying to talk about Anthony's video and trying to talk about my video, and then he just wanders. He's pretending he has like a whole bunch of people with him, but he has like 4 Tampagnari. So I assume he has, you know, including him, he has 4 or 5. So including himself, I assume he has 4 students. I don't assume that each one has a Bokuto, and you know they're going against each other like that. So he's making up some story. He's like, oh yeah, I heard these guys over here talking about how they like to grow shit, and my wife grows shit all the time, blah, blah. And you know, and he says, you know, when you go to the Home Depot and you buy your rose seeds, you know, do you read the label? It doesn't matter what's on the label because, you know, someone will drive by your house and they'll say, oh, look at those roses. It's like, yeah, that's a good analogy to people who know absolutely fucking nothing about martial arts. That's the kind of people you want to attract, I assume, the people who know absolutely fucking nothing, because they'll look at your shit and be like, oh, that guy's doing some kind of fancy-ass nonsense move. Actually, I don't even think his stuff looks like fancy-ass nonsense. It looks like just pure shit, no matter what. You know, Taekwondo school, I can say, oh yeah, that looks like fancy-ass nonsense. Chris just looks like pure shit. Maybe they'll say, oh, you know, I guess maybe the comparison would be, they look at a rose bush and then they look at a dude who's dressed up. Well, he's got tabi on, he's wearing a ninja uniform, he's got the mask over his face. You know, I guess they assume that that's equal. But, you know, and then he goes on to this analogy. He's like, oh, it doesn't matter about the lineage of the plant. It doesn't matter what brand of seed you get. It doesn't matter all this crap. But it's like, one, it does. And that's why I assume he's talking about Anthony and mine when we were talking about how you need a lineage that actually has their martial art exposed to combat. You know, his doesn't. Despite what he says, his doesn't. But he's trying to say, oh, it doesn't matter, just in case anyone does. Maybe, you know, I think I know who he's talking about, someone who's been talking with us secretly, because his comments about the person being overweight or you know, looking into history and stuff like that. But, yes, because he's been stuck on that. Unless he's mad about that picture he posted where he's like naked in front of a Coca-Cola bottle, and you see that he has his stomach is all out of shape and he had a tummy tuck. But yeah, so he's saying, he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter about this. Doesn't matter what package you get, but it does. That's like, it's coming from someone who, 1, doesn't know about martial arts, and 2, doesn't know about plants. And if you're a ninja, you should know about plants. It's kind of, they go together. Even if you're not Oniwabanshu, even if you're just a regular ninja, you should know about plants. You know, you claim to teach survival, you should know about fucking plants. An example would be, me and my girlfriend, planted Brassica juncea, I believe is the scientific term, which is mustard greens, which is takana. But you need to read the label on the plants, because the specific variety of mustard greens, Brassica juncea, is a type of mustard green that only grows well if your soil temperature is below 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it goes above 68 degrees Fahrenheit, the plant bolts. So in New Jersey, you cannot grow that plant in the summer. It's growing fine now because it's wintertime. But because I didn't know about the plant, and it looked fine to begin with, I didn't understand what would happen to it later on. And Don has a perfect analogy when he's talking about Filipino knife fighting. Filipino knife fighting looks awesome, and it works very well in the Philippines. It works very well in tropical climates. It works very well in places like that. An example would be here. Let me grab my coat. It's not going to work here when I'm wearing my coat. Maybe even stick fighting won't work here when I'm wearing my coat. Nothing. Without that, yes, it's going to hurt. You need to know what you're dealing with. You need to know the lineage of what you're coming from, how it's adapted to your area, and you need to know what will work for you and what will work anywhere. Obviously, this isn't going to do much against this, and I'm not going to cut this $300 jacket, but this little bit of blade, you know, if you're cutting, not going to do much. You know, of course Don has his way of doing it, but the Bujinkan way, adapted for armor, so heavy clothes, all that kind of stuff works. But Chris, you know, with no history, no knowledge, it's going to fail. You know, that's just the way it goes.